This video is part 2 in this Gibson Heritage restoration. You know, the one with the funky bridge insert. I've already removed the bridge that was broken in 2 pieces, and now it's time to deal with this funky insert. I'm just going to take off this insert and heat it up and remove it as well. I think it's plastic. Anybody see what's going on here with this bridge? This side of the bridge over here, the thickness is less than this side by a lot. This side is 297, and on the base side, it's 346. Now it's okay, your saddle will be higher on the base side to give it a little more clearance. The slot depth follows that taper, this angle, which is not really easy to do unless you register it off the top of this. But once again, never seen that before. If anyone has seen that on these old Gibson bridges, just had lunch. I know it looks like I'm flipping the bird, it's the way I'm holding it. Hey. So it just is strange to me. Leave me a comment. Let me know if this is normal. I don't know. I gotta just go with it, obviously, but I thought that was peculiar. The other thing, what I've come to the conclusion about this, see, this is just a piece of plastic. And I think what happened, I got a bunch of comments from you guys, and thank you for that. Based on all the comments, it kind of gave me a conclusion that this bridge split and the bridge pins were coming loose. And so the way that they rectified it was they milled a slot and inserted a piece of plastic in there so the pins won't come loose. Don't ask me why they would do that. That's what it seems like to me. That's my theory. Nevertheless, I don't think I'm going to put that piece of plastic back in there. I think I'm going to make an ebony insert to go back in there so I can finish this off and make it almost seamless. Kind of hide that dumb thing. All right, that's my plan. Got to clean this all out because there's a bunch of glue residue in there. And then I'm going to, I don't know what's next, but I'm going to see. Maybe I'll make the insert next, or I'll probably glue it back together, actually. Got to make a little jig to glue this. I'll show you that in a second. I think the way I'm going to clamp this, I'm going to make a couple of clamping cauls, if you will, that follow this contour. One on each end, and then one right in the center. This will make more sense in a minute. I'll show you. Okay, kind of elaborate. I've got 1, 2, 3 cauls holding it down flat on this surface, and I have some packing tape on it so the glue won't stick. And I made these cauls that custom fit the outside shape of the bridge. This one I did a solid. These I broke it up into 3 sections, and then I have clamps squeezing those to each other. I got the whole thing in my vise. Now I'm just going to put glue in there and do the same thing. You know how it goes. You do your practice, rehearsal, and then when it's ready for showtime, it's a whole different story. Let's see what happens. I'm going to use fish glue because I have a long open time and I think it sticks to itself well. So when I go to put this insert in here, if it has to adhere to itself at some point, it won't be a problem. Plus, I just like the smell. It doesn't smell like fish, unless you leave your brush in water and come back and smell it the next day. Then it's a bit pungent. ahead and leave this clamped, not super long, just long enough for this to set up. Be 2 hours, and then I'll take everything off. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I'll be back in 2 hours. There's Shiro. She's dying to come out here, and then she's dying to go back in the house. Can't make up your mind, can you? Okay, now I got this piece of ebony that I'm gonna make an insert. Put a little black dye on there to see how it kind of matches up. To get the bottom of this channel nice and smooth, just took this piece of wood, put a little bit of it's a relatively new invention. It's called sandpaper. You stick it to the bottom of a piece of wood and it works wonders. Put a radius in it to match that radius. So now I'm able to clean that out. It's a bit of a process. Eventually you get it to fit down in there. It's got very little gap around it. I might cut this back a little bit. Doesn't need to be quite so high. So in second thought, what I think I'm gonna do, before I cut this back and glue it, I'm gonna take this over to the drill press, put it down on the table, and drill these holes through the insert, just so there's no chance of tear out. When I cut this back, I can glue it in place and it'll be perfect. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna clamp this. I have my vise and I have some wood down in the bottom, and now the insert is sitting on top of the wood and the vise is clamping that insert. So it's actually raised up above the vise. The bridge isn't touching the vise at all. It's floating, but it's using this as a little parallel underneath it. Now I can drill through the insert and it's gonna go into this softer wood and it won't leave me any tear out. If I try to just work this in there, it might actually open up this hole. So you put the drill down inside the hole and then you turn on your drill press. Another thing, you gotta turn it off every time. So here's the insert. It's not too wonky, pretty good actually. Base side. So now I can clamp that with a little bit of glue and then I'm ready to clean that up. Debating whether I should cut a little bit more off it. Maybe a little bit. I'll cut it back a little bit before I glue it. There, that's better. Fish glue. I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to plug up those holes too bad. Make sure it's on the sides and the bottom, as well as the insert. Make sure I'm putting this in the right way so those holes line up. Okay, now, make a little wax paper taco out of it. I'm going to put it right in this vise. Let that sit for a little bit and dry. The only thing left to do now is just extend these little string slots. So you can see where the old slots were don't quite line up with where these new ones are. And I'm not quite sure why this is the right string placement according to this bridge. So I'm just going to go and fill these holes up before I mill out these little slots. I'm going to add a little bit of sawdust and some super glue in there to fill that up. I've had some bad luck doing tight little drop fills with sawdust and super glue before, so I'm going to mix up a little slurry off to the side. That way there I have a little bit more control where the super glue goes. There we are. Now I can run a Dremel in there. Okay, one last step. Just going to put a little bit of stain on that insert just to get it to match up a little bit better. It's just slightly lighter than the original. There you have it. Well, I still have to glue this bridge down, but it looks pretty good. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Catch you later.